What is going on, guys? We are back playing some more Surviving with Create 0.3, and today we are going to be setting up a chocolate factory. Now, this factory is going to bring us all the way to the finished product of chocolate bars. We are not going to be stopping simply at liquid chocolate, mainly because I do not want to have to manually process any of this. I want the chocolate bars ready to go whenever I get a craving for it, and that is exactly why we are making this in today's episode. We're going to totally forget the fact that it was a highly requested topic, because every topic with you guys is highly requested, because apparently you want to see everything under the sun when it comes to Create. Not that that's a bad thing, but on top of that, we set up the cake factory, which is out there maybe 5 or 6 episodes ago, and that was a nice little sweet treat for me, but it's getting a little bit boring, so I figured we would go with the healthy alternative of chocolate bars, since apparently there was not a sufficient amount of sugar in my builder's tea already. So the setup we're going to be going over today is going to be the most compact version of a chocolate factory that I've ever seen. It took a very long time to set up, so hopefully you guys will enjoy it, get some use out of it, or at least have fun watching me set it up, or maybe at least get a couple ideas for your own if you want to deviate a little bit from this one. But we're able to make it very compact for a couple different reasons. There are a few different tricks that you will see in this episode that you can use that a lot of people don't think of to make it much smaller than it otherwise would be. But then we also have to include a couple very important fail-safes to make sure that the setup is not going to break when we use those tricks. And these are things that I do not see people ever include. So we're going to have a heavy focus on those just so you guys don't set this up and have it end up breaking a couple hours after it starts running because of it being overloaded with a certain item and not dealing with that appropriately. Now, because we are setting up a factory in today's episode, it's going to be a little bit longer than usual, and I know I'm saying that pretty much every other episode, if not more at this point, but as we get into late game Create, even the simple and compact versions of these builds are still extremely time consuming to make, so I do appreciate you guys bearing with me in some of these longer episodes. I know you guys have said that you actually enjoy them, but I still like letting you guys know that I appreciate you sticking around for the whole thing if you do, and if you don't, that's totally cool. But regardless, we should probably jump into the requirements ASAP so we can get to building and not have an hour-long episode. And as you can see here, I have divided them into 2 different groups. So the stuff on the left here is going to be required for the main portion of the factory. You're really not going to want to vary the quantities of these at all. This is exactly what you need. The stuff on the right here, though, you can sort of adjust depending on how you want to set up the farm. Now, I have it at what I think is a healthy middle ground in terms of yield for both sugarcane and cocoa beans. But if you're really not concerned with the production rate of chocolate, you can decrease it a bit, save some space, save some resources. Or if you really want more chocolate than me, you are a chocolate connoisseur, well then you can increase some of these quantities too and get a higher yield so that you can increase the production rate simply by upping the speed of the main factory portion. This will be able to support way more than we're currently setting up today if we up the speed, so by all means, increase the farm size, decrease it, do whatever you want, the factory will still work. But to quickly run through these, and I'm hoping we have enough inventory room for all these. I don't think we will, so we might be making 2 trips, but we're going to need 4 chests, 1 smart chute, 1 millstone, 4 brass funnels, 2 stockpile switch, 3 hoppers, a mechanical arm, 6 depot, 4 andesite funnel, a mechanical mixer, 2 redstone dust, 2 basin, a blaze burner, 2 mechanical pumps, a fluid pipe, an item drain, a smart fluid pipe, a mechanical press, the classic slime ball, 2 buckets, at least. You can have more of these if you want, but you need at least 2, a deployer, 11 cogwheels, a filter, and 3 vertical gearboxes. We're actually going to be using 2 vertical and 1 regular, but in order to save space, as I've already said, I converted all of them to 3 vertical gearboxes, and we'll just convert 1 back later. Then for the farm portion of the setup, we're going to be using today 90 jungle logs, 60 sugarcane, 60 cocoa beans, 2 radial chassis, obviously you need the slime ball for making those sticky, a stone button or some form of button or lever to initiate the cart assembler, which we also need, a minecart, a powered rail, or 11 powered rails I should say, 2 portable storage interfaces, 20 mechanical harvesters, and then a redstone torch for powering these powered rails. After we have all that, we should be good to go, and let's see if I can grab all this out and what I have to ditch to make room in my inventory for this. So it's looking like we are going to be, we are seriously short on space, so I mean, we could ditch some of our food and some of our tools here, but I think our best bet is probably going to be grabbing out everything that we need for the farm, and then I can just run back and grab the rest of this stuff later. So this is the room where our factory is going to be built. I am super thrilled with how it turned out. I think it looks really nice, but obviously there's a ton of additional stuff going on in here that I prepped for outside of just getting the items in the chest that we just went over. So I'm going to quickly run through all of these things before we start building. So if we open up our inventory and look at the recipe for liquid chocolate, we will see that it needs both milk and a heated blaze burner. Now, assuming that the blaze burner was not already a dead giveaway, you would need to heat this. That means that first off, we need a cow for today's episode. At this point, it's seeming like it's a staple in all of our factory setups that we need to have a cow. So when you come to watch an episode, you might as well just have a cow on hand ready to go, since more often than not, you're going to be using it. So we've got that right over there. And then we also are going to need to input a fuel source for heating up the blaze burner to heat up the basin for the recipe. Now today I am going to be using dried kelp blocks that'll be coming out of the floor right here. Obviously whatever fuel source you want to use is totally up to you. Whether you want to use a kelp farm like I am, or you want to use a tree farm to get either wood or turn it into charcoal, all of those would work perfectly fine. I'm just doing dried kelp because we have a dried kelp factory somewhere outside over there that's already running, and we have an excess of dried kelp blocks, so why not? I figured though we're not going to go over that in today's episode because we've done a ton of tree farms. They take a while to set up perfectly, and the dried kelp factory takes a bit of time too, and we just went over it like 2 episodes ago. So if you have an idea in mind, go for it. If you don't, I would advise you to go watch that episode and simply use this as the output and push it up here to where we will eventually use it to heat the blaze burner. And lastly, we have some rotational power coming in here that is going to be run at 64 RPM. It is coming from this setup right over here from last episode, the blast furnace, flywheel, and furnace engine setup that runs indefinitely using some more of those dried kelp blocks. This is going at 32, so we just geared up to 64 and we are good to go. Other than that, there's nothing else that we need to worry about. We can get into the building. Now this is going to be where we set up the farm, and we're going to start out there because this is probably one of the more complicated parts to do, but I did a little bit of prep to get the dirt down for the sugarcane and get the water down for it too. We have a bunch of troughs that are 5 long of waterlogged slabs that'll make building this a bit easier. Figured that we shouldn't do that on camera because that's a bunch of busy work, but the main idea of this farm is it is a 2-in-1 farm to gather both sugarcane and cocoa beans in the same minecart contraption. And that's going to be running up and down the center here, bouncing back and forth, just continuously harvesting those. So I think this is by far and away the most efficient setup to do this. You can do radial designs if you want, like we do in the past with our farms, and that's totally fine, but I don't think it's going to be super efficient. This one maximizes its utilization of space. As you will see, there is very little open space left to waste in this. And if you want to expand it, it does not require any stress capacity at all, no matter how far you take it, which is definitely a nice added bonus. So to start out, we are going to want to grab out a fair bit of jungle logs, and on every single one of these 5 long troughs of water, we're going to want to put down a 3 high set of jungle logs. And the reason that I said it's probably a good idea to use waterlogged slabs to make building this a bit easier is what you can see right here. Instead of having to worry about getting rid of the water source blocks when you come to place down the jungle logs, you can just click it right on there and it makes your life a lot easier. If you don't care about how these are oriented, unlike myself, then you don't really need to worry about that. But if you want to orient them properly, you're either going to want to do this, or you're going to be coming back and having to dig out the area below them. Apparently I didn't even orient it properly here though. But definitely a bit of a pain to do that. So as you can see, just being able to click them down is definitely super nice. So we'll just fill all these in. It requires 15 per section, so you can use that number if you want to expand further or reduce it. But again, as I said earlier on in the video, I do think that this is a pretty healthy amount if you want a, decent output for yourself and maybe a few friends. I'm never going to burn through all this chocolate, so I'm not too concerned, but I know some other people might be, so figured I'd let you guys know. So we'll finish this off, and then we get to go back through and fill in our sugarcane to start. And we can hear our stone that's being made over at our gold factory over there, since everything is getting so cramped in the base. But now we can go to the sugarcane, and obviously this setup is going to work because we've got water underneath this, and so we can simply put down our sugarcane right here adjacent to the water. and we can go through and fill in all these areas right here. And as you can see, like I said, there is no space left, so we're making the best utilization of what we have to work with. And we'll fill in all of these out to the front, and then we're going to come back through and do it with the cocoa beans too. So takes a little bit of time to set this up, but I definitely think it looks super cool too. I really like the colors of this. That's why I put some green in the room, but now we can grab out our cocoa beans. I already have them. And then we're going to come on the top row here. You need to make sure it's the top and put them down on both the outside and the inside, just like we did with the sugarcane. And I'm sure you can already tell how this setup is going to work. We are going to have a 2-high set of mechanical harvesters on each side of the minecart contraption running through here, and they will harvest both the cocoa beans at the top here and any sugarcane that is grown up to the middle row. Now this works really well because obviously we are hacking off the top of the sugarcane. We want to make sure we leave the bottom, but the cocoa beans, when they grow, and they grow really fast as you can see, but when they grow, the mechanical harvester will treat them basically like wheat, where it's going to replant them once it harvests them. So all it needs to do is pass through them. You don't need to worry about things like sugarcane, which if it passed through this bottom one, would not replant it. So now that we have that part of the farm set up, we are going to slap down our powered rails right down the center here. And you need to make sure that you have a block at both ends because we want the cart to bounce back and forth indefinitely. So we're using powered rails the entire way, so it is at max speed. And we're going to have to put down some form of redstone power to get these going. And unfortunately, if we were to come down in the middle here, there's water on both sides, which makes it difficult to put it down. So we're going to come down one off center, and this is killing me inside doing this. It's horrible. Minecraft OCD, I'm sure we all have it, but at least now we have this powered, and we'll just pretend like it's not actually there and totally not bothering us for the rest of the episode. But now this is powered, and if we were to grab out our minecart, toss it down, and bump it, you can see it starts going back and forth over and over and over again. So now we are going to put down our cart assembler, and we can put that down right here. It's going to catch the minecart in it because it basically deletes the power going to the rail right under this, so it can stop it. And we can slap down our button, or if you have a lever or whatever you have right next to this, for whenever we finish assembling the minecart contraption and want to make it go again. But we're going to take our radial chassis and put 2 directly on top of the minecart, take our slime ball and make 3 sides sticky. We want both the 2 sides and then the back here, or the front, whichever one you want to consider this, but we want to make sure that all sides except the one facing into the farm at this point are sticky. And to start out, we are going to place down a chest and a portable storage interface here. We want the portable storage interface to be at the very top, chest to be right here, and then finally we want to come out and put down 5 dirt blocks on each side of this so that we can put down our mechanical harvesters. Now, we're going to orient them like this, and something I always say, those of you that watch my videos are getting pretty tired of this, I imagine, but you do not need linear chassis or any kind of block behind these harvesters. If we look and hover over the radial chassis, we can see these count. You cannot place them down without having a block behind them, but you can get rid of it and they still count. So there's no reason to waste resources and make, linear chassis or additional radial chassis or anything like that. You can simply put them down with some dirt to orient them properly and then get rid of it. I think this looks significantly nicer, and just something that bothers me that I see people do all the time. You do not need to do it. So this setup should pretty much be good to go. If we were to hit this button, it would launch it off. We just want to make sure that we have our wrench ready to go, because when we do hit the button, we need to wrench up the cart assembler. And I guess quickly we can make sure that these are set to an appropriate number of blocks to pull with it. So we want to scroll this down to 5 and this down to 5, and that'll make sure that all of these are attached but nothing extra if there was something that came in contact with it. But everything else should be stuck to it now and all good, so we can hit the button and then just grab back our cart assembler. You can get caught in this if you walk too close, and we'll be able to see it right here, I think. Yep, but it's not going to kill you. Oh no, one of those did not stick. Did I accidentally scroll? Oh no, I scrolled the top one down too much. Okay, so second try is the charm. Let's make sure I don't screw that up again. Scrolling down to 5. Scrolling down to 5 here. Should be good to go. We just need to get rid of the dirt here. I had to reassemble it because I messed up when I placed the cart assembler back down. So we definitely did not include that on camera because that was quite shameful. But we can just dump these cocoa beans in here. get back out our button. We can hit this. It should be going now. And there we go. Now it's collecting everything and it bounces back and forth. We can get our stone button back. And now it's good. I think this looks extremely cool. I really like the colors that come along with this setup. And now we have something that harvests both our cocoa and our sugar in one go. And now we need to worry about making the fail safes that prevent this double farm from having issues, because as I believe I already said, I don't know if I did though, when you have something that harvests two different things, you're going to potentially run into issues if you let it run indefinitely. And every setup I've seen does not actually address those issues, which is why if they run long enough, they will break. So now we need to put down the portable storage interface that is going to accept items off this. And so that is going to go right about here. So we want to make sure it's one away. I'm pretty sure we're about to get pushed, so we'll put that down there. But we want to put down, oh my gosh, it keeps kicking us off. Our portable storage interface right here. You can see that these now connect. We want to make sure that it is exactly one away when it gets to the end here. Otherwise, this is going to jitter a couple times. If we were to put this over one, it'll try and connect maybe 2 or 3 times and delay this and cause it to be all jittery and weird. But if we put it down here, it is going to be good to go. And now we need to set up a couple different things. So the first thing that we're going to do is our millstone, which we're going to put right over here. And we're going to put a brass funnel ejecting onto this. So just like that. And we can flip this. Now I'm letting that kick out all of our cocoa beans because we're going to eventually be setting this to sugarcane. So I'll wait until it kicks some of that out too. But we'll be using the cocoa beans. That was probably more cocoa beans there. Yeah, I guess technically that we could just put sugarcane. We can grab one of these and use it real quick to set the filter and then put it back. But we want this to be set to filter sugarcane. The reason we're doing this is because we want to A, filter it, and B, this will let it mass dump them out into this millstone. If you don't know, brass funnels, on top of having a filter, can dump out up to a stack at once, unlike andesite. So we want that. And then down here, we are going to want to put down a smart chute with cocoa beans put on it. So we'll put down the smart chute there. We'll put cocoa beans on there. And then we are going to be putting a hopper below it that goes into a chest. So let's get out our dirt. We want our chest to go right here. Oh, we want our chest to go right there on top of the dirt. And then finally, we want to put a hopper going into this from the smart chute. And then down here, we want to put down another chest next to this. We want to make sure that they are not connected. We do not want these to connect to each other. This one is going to be for cocoa beans. This is going to be for sugarcane. And we want to put for sugar coming from the sugarcane in the millstone. And we want to put a hopper down into the chest right here. So now we have sugar in this one that's been processed. We have cocoa beans in this one. Obviously, we will have more cocoa beans than sugar though. So now we can set up the failsafe that I talked about before, and I actually had to go and grab a couple additional materials because I guess some of these I forgot, but really it is up to you how you want to delete the items. You could use cactus, you could use lava. I'm going to use lava because we have these 2 adjacent chests right here, so doing cactus might be a little bit difficult, but we're going to come down right below them, and we're going to want to dig down a bit because obviously our base is made of wood, so if we're going to be using lava, we need to get a little bit away from these before we can put this down. So we're going to come down a fair bit down here, and we'll just come down on the side here too. So I'd say that's good enough. That's probably overkill, but whatever, it doesn't really matter. So then we can put down 2 buckets of lava right here to delete the items, and we can build our way back up. And that'll be far enough away that nothing will light on fire. And then we are going to put down right under these 2 smart chutes. And technically they don't need to be smart chutes. Well, I think smart chutes are the only ones with redstone. I don't know if regular chutes have redstone, but we're using smart chutes for redstone functionality. But once we have these, we are going to want to put down our 2 stockpile switches right on the sides of these chests, pushing into them. So one on this one on this one. And then we are going to want to invert their signal and grab out our redstone and put it right down below it. So you can see that this is going to power both of these because there is not a sufficient amount in here to flip it over. You can leave it at 75%, you can decrease it, it doesn't matter. All this is going to do is if this gets a wicked overflow in here, it's going to prevent it from backing up the entire system, which is really important to start. Otherwise, you're going to have some serious issues because eventually your farm is going to fill up that entire chest with cocoa beans, most likely, because you are going to get more cocoa beans than sugarcane. And balancing the two out is going to be near impossible. So you're definitely going to want this to void the items eventually if you get too many. And then finally, we are going to be putting down our depots right in front of these, and then we are going to be taking 2 andesite funnels, putting them down on the front of the chests. We want to make sure, looking at the arrows, that they're pointing out to dump from the chests onto the depots. And we are doing this because we're going to use a mechanical arm to input items into our basin. Otherwise, if you use mechanical belts, you're going to run into issues where the belt will fill up because you have a maximum amount of items per type that you can have in the basin. Eventually, you will fill that up completely. And if you have more things like cocoa beans coming on the belt system, it will stop putting those items in, halt the entire belt system, and you will not be able to get your sugar in there to get it flowing again. So it'll break the setup too. So that's another case where you really want to make sure that you are using something like a depot with mechanical arms. If you have a basin with a single stream bringing 2 items in, you're gonna run into an issue unless they are exactly perfect. So the next thing we're going to be doing is putting down our blaze burner right here diagonal from this depot with the sugar on it. And this is going to be eventually lit by the mechanical arm that also places both of these depots items into the basin. So we're going to have a couple interesting ways to do that, but we need to then put down the basin obviously directly on top of this and the mechanical mixer directly on top of that. And then we are going to take a brass funnel and put it down on this side of the basin, putting items in. And then we are going to grab out our filter, click on this, and then if you guys didn't know, you can use JEI to set items for a filter if you don't have them in your inventory. Super nice. So we're going to drag sugar in here, and we are going to drag cocoa beans. So we'll put both of those in there, click OK, and then put it in here. Now that we have that set up for the actual input of the mechanical arm, we should be good to start setting this up. We just need to grab out an additional depot and put it on top of this chute right here, which will be obviously grabbing our dried kelp blocks, which are going to be the fuel for our blaze burner. So now we need to set it so it picks up from this depot, this depot, this depot, and puts into the blaze burner and the basin. So what we're going to do is right click so that these 3 depots are blue, and then right click again on both the blaze burner and the brass funnel, and then put this mechanical arm down. Let's say right here, that should be fine. So it's got 3 inputs and 2 outputs. And it looks like I might have misplaced this shaft right here to get power to this mechanical arm. But either way, this should be good to grab all of these. Now it's important because we cannot set a brass funnel filter for the blaze burner, but that's fine because these 2 are not burnable. Only the dried kelp will be used on that. But we need to make sure the dried kelp doesn't go in here. So that's the reason for the filter right there. Now we need to set up the input for the milk. And so we are going to be doing a mechanical pump, fluid pipe, typical setup that we do. So we'll put the fluid pipe over here, mechanical pump coming in right there, put the item drain right here. And those of you that are familiar with my videos will probably know what we're doing here, but hopper right here, depot. We need to put down another depot over here. And we'll be putting a brass funnel going up into there. And then we need to put down our deployer up top. So let's get up here. And I think we can put it right there. Yep. And then we just got to reorient this like that. And finally, we need to put an andesite funnel on the back and a brass funnel on the front. I am going to set this, though, to use empty buckets before we do that to make it easier. Then we are going to put a brass funnel on the front, get some milk from our cow, put that filter on. Then in the back here, we're going to put down our andesite funnel so that the buckets then can go in there. And we need to make sure, again, that all these arrows are correct. So this one coming out, going down, hopper over, going up, and we want this to be empty buckets on its filter. If we can click on it, it doesn't want to let us click on it from that angle. There we go, empty buckets there, and then up and in. So that should be good on that front. I just need to get the cow up here. Okay, well, the cow is now up there. I had to tear down so much stuff to grab some of these stairs to get the cow up there, but they are now up there. Apparently, they have some serious walking issues and jumping issues. maybe they've been eating too much chocolate because they did not want to move. My goodness. So I was going to put it on camera, but that was just horrific. So no game. But now we are good to start finishing this off by putting down the smart fluid pipe over here that we will eventually filter out the chocolate. And then we have the mechanical pump. Whoops, that's a shaft. We have the mechanical pump, which will be going right here into another basin right there. And then we are going to put down our mechanical press. We want it facing, so the rotational power, I believe, will be coming in this side. Yeah, so I want it facing towards the mechanical mixer. And then finally, we want a depot right here, and we will have the chute coming right off. And then lastly, we want to have a chest right here with an andesite funnel going up, so that it will drop on to the depot with the chocolate bars, and then they will go into this chest right here. So now we have everything the setup needs other than the power coming in, which is obviously one of the most important parts, but we should be good to hook that up now. So we're going to grab out some shafts, our cogwheel, and then our vertical gearbox. We're going to put down our cogwheel right here to start out on the mechanical arm. Then we are going to take a vertical gearbox, put it right on top of that, put down another cogwheel. And the important thing we need to do, as always, is make sure that the mechanical pump is going in the right direction, because it can be reversed depending on how your rotation is input, but you can force it to go the right way. So here now we have it going into this basin. Then we are going to need to put down another cogwheel on the top of this mechanical pump. We're going to grab out a regular gearbox, and that is going to go right on top of our mechanical mixer, or on top of our basin. And again, the mechanical mixer can go right through this, so it doesn't matter. We're going to put down a shaft. This is obviously now spinning. So we're going to grab out another vertical gearbox, put that right here. We're going to put down a cogwheel on top, and then a cogwheel on here on our deployer. And then finally another, whoops, that's not the right side. We want a cogwheel coming down to connect to this gearbox, and that is going to give power to both this mechanical pump, which is going in the correct direction, and also get it up to that deployer. Didn't mean to put this one down. So there we go. Now, if we were to put buckets in here, I believe they should go all the way through. So we can put a milk bucket in there, but we can put a couple additional ones in, and they will start milking the cow. The only issue I suspect we're going to run into is milk coming in here, so we're going to have to deal with that once we've produced some chocolate. But we'll worry about that because now there'll be a backup in here so that it can actually be made. The last thing we need to do, though, is put down some cogwheels to get power to the millstone, which we can do by putting down... Oh my gosh, this is going to keep causing issues for us. We can do that by putting down a cogwheel right here, putting down cogwheels right here, going all the way over, and we're already running out of space in there. We're going to get a ton of sugar because we're clearly, it was clearly full, so sugarcane got dumped out. But now we're going to watch as the sugar also gets put in here, and this should be able to start mixing. You can see it was already pushed down. So now all we need to do is, I guess we can get rid of this basin, and can we bucket out? I don't think we can bucket out of the basin. Oh, we can. Okay, so we need to grab out all the milk from in here so that we can get chocolate back in here. So let's see. Is it just going to keep putting milk in here? Aha, okay, I got it. It was a little bit difficult to get it from here to get the chocolate, but now we have the bucket of chocolate. We can set that filter. What a pain. And now we can drink our milk, and we can bucket the milk out of here. We're probably honestly better off just breaking this. Oh, we got all the milk out. Cool. So now that we have that in there, I guess the last thing we need to do is put down the last cogwheel right up here to get power to the mechanical press. Missed that for a second. But now we are getting bars of chocolate. You can see that the sugar is coming in. We obviously have a massive surplus in there, same with the cocoa beans, but this is not at a point yet where it is going to start dumping it. So that is the setup for today, guys. I think it looks really, really cool when it's running. It's got a ton of moving parts, but I also don't think the concept is that complicated. There's just a couple important things that you remember, including using the depot so you don't get a backup in the basin, causing the belt to stop working, and also to make sure that you have smart chutes to dump any excess that you have so you do not fill up this entire chest when you have way more cocoa beans than you have sugar cane. But if you have all that going, then you should be all set. And as you can see, we are getting a ton of chocolate bars. We are already at 28, and we might as well munch on a couple of these. So there we go. Not the best food source in all of Create, but it's also not bad. Seems appropriate though that we eat a couple of them since we just finished. But hopefully you guys enjoyed today's episode and found it interesting. I know you've been asking for a chocolate factory for quite some time. But as always, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you later.